where people would sit.
Test. All right. It's going to be fun. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wallowa Lake Lodge. Do you know what time it is? It's time for the 37th Summer Fishtrap Gathering of Writers. I want to welcome all of you folks who registered for Summer Fishtrap, and we're starting our first day here. This is the first evening. And to all of you folks who come out from the community to enjoy these evening readings, they're all open to the public. Only one is ticketed, that's Saturday night, but the rest of them are free of charge. We welcome all of you folks to also come up early before these events and grab a bite to eat from Wallowa Lake Lodge, either at the Red, which is their little bar and grill inside the main lodge room, or the canvas room, and you can learn more by talking to the nice folks at the lodge. I also want to welcome all of you folks watching in Internet land on Fishtrap's YouTube channel or Fishtrap's webpage. We're really happy to have you be a part of this too, especially our participants in Fishtrap's virtual workshop with Elliot Treichel. It's just good to have you all folks be a part of Summer Fishtrap, and not here, but at the comfort of your own home. This year's theme is, well, the significant thing, and what might make Fishtrap a little different, Summer Fishtrap a little different, is each year hangs on a theme. We think about a theme, what do we all want to explore, think about, talk about, write about, and each year there's a different theme. Since 1988, there's been a different theme each year, and this year the theme is love. And what does that mean? We'll be exploring what that means to us in all the different forms. You'll hear more about it tonight, and hopefully that will inspire you to write and think and share and tell stories and love each other, I guess. Summer Fishtrap wouldn't happen if it weren't for the fine folks who do contribute a little bit, who make donations each year, each month. And thank you for that. We'll talk about more of that a little bit more later. But there are also some foundations, funders, and sponsors. I'd really like to acknowledge this first night. The Kinsman Foundation has given a significant amount to help this happen. Yeah, thank you. And then, of course, Wallowa Lake Lodge for hosting us this week. A beautiful, beautiful, inspiring spot. Eastern Oregon University's Masters of Fine Arts and Creative Writing program. And then there's also some sponsors, the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, Terminal Gravity, who donated and brought up and set up these tents for us to use during the week. Isn't that something? The Book Loft, you've seen Becky inside. We all know Becky. And the significant thing is, if you buy our instructors and students and folks books from the Book Loft, they donate 20% of the sales back to Fishtrap. So each night we'll have, so much clapping. This is great. We also, and in your program, have a list of other sponsors who have donated things, services, a lot of local love for Fishtrap in here. So take a look and visit some of these places while you're in the county. Also, a couple other things I'll talk about a little bit more later, but there's at the front table where you checked in, or for folks who just walked in the yard, inside the lodge at the nice, you'll see some friendly faces. There are some beautiful raffle items that you can buy a raffle ticket and stick it in a jar in the thing that you would like to have. Go in and talk to Jennifer Hobbs or Devin and buy a raffle ticket. I think it's one ticket for $5 and you get 6 tickets for $25, something like that. Isn't that right, Jennifer? Yeah. Also, we'll talk about some of you are fish trappers or fish trapper curious, or don't know anything about being a fish trapper. It's basically a way to support Fishtrap monthly with a donation as little as $5. And you get a lot of different benefits, including discounts on programs and other stuff like that. Talk to Jennifer Hobbs back there about the Fish Trapper program. We'll also be having a drawing from folks who are fish trappers nightly beginning tomorrow. Thanks for sitting through all of this stuff. I just wanted to set the table before we really dive in and get going. I'll talk about the schedule in a little bit, but first I want to each year, and it's so much fun. Fishtrap's executive director for the past 8 or 9 years now is Shannon McNerney, and she does all of the spreadsheets and grant proposals and talking to the people, filling out payroll, and every once in a while we get to really hear Shannon's creative self and so this is one of my favorite moments of the year because Shannon really gets to shine and talk about the why we do all the other things. So please welcome Fishtrap's Executive Director, Shannon McNerney.
It's always fun to figure out, find out what your gang thinks you do. So I also pick up boxes, and yeah, there's some other cool stuff I get to do too. So, well, thank you. I just want to say it's finally here. The 37th Fishtrap Gathering of Writers. It is so good to see you all. My job, as Mike said tonight, is to set the stage for this week of writing and listening, and to give you maybe a little nudge, a little encouragement. And also, this is not just for the folks that are registered as writers. I hope this is for everybody. Everybody here is creative and has a story to tell, so hopefully you all take a little bit of something. So whether you're joining us as a writer or a teacher or a listener and lover of good writing and storytelling, I hope you can take away a little bit of insight, inspiration, and a little homework as we kick off this week of, love. But before I issue my annual assignment to each of you, I'd like to acknowledge some folks myself who make this week possible. First off, the amazing, the incredible, the awesome Fishtrap staff, Mike Midlow, Jennifer Hobbs, Janice Carper. This is her 20th summer Fishtrap, by the way. And our brand new Devin Maxwell, this is her first, so please welcome them. We also have 9 wonderful board members, several of whom who are here tonight. If you're here, if you could raise your hand. I have a few of you. Yeah, excellent. I see one. I think Elizabeth has been at every summer Fishtrap since it started. And Kate Forster, who is taking her first writing workshop with us this summer. So this is pretty exciting. I'd also like to thank the Fishtrap faculty who have sacrificed and worked hard to get here for a week. Our Fishtrap fellows. We have 42 people who have volunteered to help out this week. 42 folks. To me, that's a bunch of people who think they're part of this organization. And can I tell you, I did the math because of spreadsheets, and it's 167 hours of time, which is another 4 full-time people here this week helping. So if you see a volunteer, please thank them and know that we couldn't do this without them. So, and finally, thank you to the staff at Wallowa Lake Lodge who, boy, we come in and we just make their life all sorts of interesting this week. So be patient, writers. They're not used to you. They haven't learned what they're in for yet, so it'll be fun. And I'm happy to see you all here. So, like we say, this is the 37th time writers from across the West and beyond have made the trek to Wallowa County to come together to write and build community together, and the 5th year that there's been a way to do that virtually. To all those who are joining us online, have no doubts that you're part of this remarkable community of thinkers and writers too. For 37 years, people who share a love of words, of ideas, and who think the stories we tell in and about the West have come to this place. Boy, let me say that sentence again. Who think stories we tell in and about the West are important, have come to this place that was and is the homeland and gathering place of the Nimipu, the Umatilla, the Cayuse, and the Walla Walla, to be inspired and to learn from each other. For thousands of years, countless stories have come from these lands. This week, you get to add yours. My hope for you is that you find new ways to express yourself, knowing that you have the full support of this special community of fellow storytellers. Yes, that's all of you, writer or not, we all have stories to share. That trek, the journey you made to get here, the decision to give yourself time to create, to work on your craft, I know it's no small thing. It takes planning, it takes commitment. Whether you've traveled for 2 days or 10 minutes to get here, you made the decision to prioritize your writing. You put your regular life on hold, stressed over what to pack, fretted over heat warnings and lack of air conditioning, worried about food and internet and gas prices, maybe even worried about bears. Whether you're here for the first time or the 37th, now's the time to set that all aside. Take a deep breath. You're here now. Unpack. Suspend your judgments. Open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Touch the ground. Take in the sky, the mountains, the water. This is a poem from our friend Kim. When I walk, I walk away from judgment, from expectations as I stride through knee-high blossoms where this prairie hill, sturdy in what it is, needs no opinion. I walk away from chores, from phone. My job is curiosity regarding thicket, birdsong, gleaming grass surrendering to wind and waves. My goal is far horizon, or this cleft where water chatters, shaping stones. I walk away from errands, calendar, from weary shouting news striving to recruit me to sorrow. See how this dry grass curled from life to dance with beauty? See how needles of pine glisten where they fell? I walk far from my frenzied self to where my simple shadow glides over open ground, light-footed, lost from trouble, easy, walking away. I can't think of a better benediction for your week. Take time away from the shouting news striving to recruit your sorrow. Walk away. Think of this generative writing week as a path through these woods, but before you do, maybe I should clarify what a generative writing workshop is. For me, it's what makes Fishtrap unique. Generative writing means focusing on the craft of writing over the final product. It's about connecting to your creativity and writing something brand new. It's about the love of words, the power of sharing stories, and the thrill that comes from creating something out of nothing but your own marvelous brain cells, your roots, your soul, and possibly a muse or two. Generative writing is open to anyone. It's a democratic process. It doesn't care about your CV, your publishing history, or your preferred genre. It's about you and your pen and your paper or your laptop, no judgment. The writing is the thing. The final product, that's up to you. There's no grade here. There's no book deal on the line or agent to impress. Some of you have come with previous work, and that's good. Write something new anyway. See what comes up for you. Feel it in your heart, in your body. We want you to write, to be writers, to be storytellers and connectors, to remind folks why words are important, to give yourself the gift of walking away to make art. Ross Gay, believe it or not, came to Wallowa County this past March. Can you believe I just said that sentence? His catalog of unabashed gratitude has a tiny gem that describes what I feel when I write generatively. It's called Ode to the Flute. A man sings by opening his mouth. A man sings by opening his lungs, by turning himself into air. A flute can be made of a man. Nothing is explained. A flute lays on its side and prays a wind might enter it and make of it at least a small final song. A small word of caution. Generative writing can sometimes strike deep wells or uncover long buried caves. It can bring up emotions and memories that catch you by surprise. It may even earth a demon or a sprite. Know that's okay, that you're okay. And if it gets to be too much, take a beat, take a break, take a walk, make a note. Give it the space it needs, but try to remember that you're sharing space with lots of other folks who may be going through their own creative emotional discoveries. It's okay to put it on pause and go jump in the lake, to remind yourself that you're here to create, to write. If you need more support than that, come see me. Yes? Okay. So love. Why love? What better response is there in times of chaos, of fear, of deliberate attempts by some to keep us disconnected and fearful? Love of craft and love of place bring us here. Maybe love of a certain writer or a mountaintop, of community. This love, it all started with an email. And it occurred to me, this is from our leader, our founder, Rich Schneider. He wrote, and it occurred to me that we might have a Fishtrap focused on love. How do we respond to this world of hate? How do we answer Memphis and Minneapolis, Sand Creek and Wounded Knee? How do we get on with good life, or at least a better life? Love, of course, is more than romantic love. The love of parents and children, children of parents, friends, siblings. I am older and upset with the world's enmities and think we should use all opportunities to focus on the alternatives, which is tolerance and brother-sisterhood, which is, in the end is love. This is the man who founded this place. Really big shoulders. How can you respond to this world where hate seems to be lurking around every corner? How can you use your words to shine a light on the alternative, to change the narrative, to focus on connection, on hope, on empathy? How can love help you to think about your work differently, to see each other differently? Can we still come together in a shared space and see each other as people first? Can we as individuals and as communities still recognize love when we see it? I read this from Anne Lamott the other day from her new book, Somehow. It said 80% of everything that is true and beautiful can be experienced on any 10-minute walk. Even in the darkest and most devastating times, love is nearby if you know what to look for. It does not always appear to at first be lovely, but instead may take the form of a hot mess or a snoring old dog, or someone you have sworn to never, ever forgive for possibly very good reason, if you ask me. But mixed in will be also familiar signs of love. Wings, good-hearted people, cats when they're in the right mood, a spray of wildflowers, and a cup of tea. So no matter how or even if you are inspired by this year's theme, I hope this generative process is what fuels your work this week. This is the reason for Summer Fishtrap every year. I know it's what makes this place different. This space we create here together is about bringing your work and your writing, your revelation, your understanding, your inspiration into being. Your words can change worlds. Don't doubt it. Fishtrap promotes clear thinking. Actually, now we don't promote clear thinking. We cultivate clear thinking and good writing in and about the West. Put another way, Fishtrap creates space for bringing clear thinking and good writing into being, for generating creativity, connection, and community. That applies to every single person here, by the way, not just the writers. Let go and let that generative energy free you to listen in a new way and to see where it takes you. So it's assignment time. You ready? In the next week, I challenge you all to do the following. First, take this time in this place, or if you're joining us online, please set time to go outside. Be outside. Wear sunscreen and touch the ground. Maybe put your toe in the lake. Mike said it heals. Or run through a sprinkler if you can't get to the lake. Look at the sky, breathe deeply, connect with this time and this place, and know that everything you see and smell and feel is connected to everything that came before and everything that will be. Second, I've said this before, but I think it bears repeating, beware of powerful words. May I suggest you put should on a shelf this week and maybe replace it with one or more of other of these. Will, can, try, create, yes, maybe no. Or how about the word love? Use it with abandon. Try it out as a verb, as a noun, even as an adverb. Love is not a commodity. It's not scarce. Love, like knowledge and sourdough starter, only grows when you share it. Third, I encourage you to connect with someone new this week, someone that's not in your workshop or from the local community or someone that you don't see every day. Reach out and ask questions. Discover something lovely about someone who maybe doesn't remember a time without a smartphone or a computer, or for someone whose first telephone had a dial and a really long cord. We all have much to learn from each other, and the benefits of learning together as community are themselves manifold and far-reaching. Take good advantage. Finally, I ask you to join me, the Fishtrap staff and faculty, in creating a brave space for all of us to do this work together. We're here to write and share stories and poems, yes, but also to take care of each other. So be kind, be brave, pay attention, listen, participate, speak up, take risks, make mistakes, learn, try something new. I love what I get to do here. I do. Here's why. It's a privilege. I get to serve with people who care about art, who care about creativity, story, and are infinitely curious, who strive daily to create brave spaces for empathy and connection. And I get to do it while I live here. It's really a tough life. It's a privilege to serve writers, to serve all of you who constantly strive to do better work, who show their courage through the very act of sitting their butts in a chair and putting a pen to page or a cursor to screen, who are, if not unafraid, willing to be vulnerable and open to new ways of creating and sharing their inner world with others. It's a privilege to be surrounded by people who come to be inspired by your words, read your work, to cheer you on. It's a privilege to get to interact with each and every one of you. You are a part of this place now too. You will take a piece of it home with you when you go. So before you do, I have one more poem. And this is from an Oregon Poet Laureate who was here last year. In summer, I was loved. I loved, and the hours were filled, even when they were empty with golden light. And again, in summer, I was loved again. And the hours then were again, even when they were empty with golden light, were filled. And again, I was loved. And in summer, and again, filled and empty, and again, with golden light, I loved and am loved, and again, I love again, and again, and again, again. Now it's time. Let's get some writing done.
Thanks, Shannon. Wow. Summer Fishtrap, I was just thinking, Summer Fishtrap is just better when Kim Stafford is here. And Perrin, and all the rest of you. It's just, so we humbly asked Kim if he would come up and just kind of also do a little bit of what Shannon did, just talk about love and Summer Fishtrap and being creative. So if you don't know Kim, he sets the tone. He's one of the people who created this organization. He wants to build community. He wants to know who you are, for real. Kim is the founding director of the Northwest Writing Institute and founding director of Fishtrap. I tried to count up how many times you've been here over 37 years, and I kind of lost track after 20 some. So, and Kim has also led Fishtrap's Outpost on the Zumwalt Prairie program, Fishtrap's year-long writers workshop program, and in the years he hasn't taught, Kim often signs up as a student. Now that's the spirit, right? Kim served as Oregon's Poet Laureate from 2018 to 2020 as the author of more than 20 books of poetry and prose, including As the Sky Begins to Change. He also co-edited The Art of Revising Poetry, 21 U.S. poets on their drafts, craft, and process. Give it up for Kim Stafford.
Wow, good to be back. Writing is an act of love. Love for your subject, love for your reader, love for the difficult process of writing, love for not knowing, wondering, how do I know all this? My beloved told me to start with that. And she's right. Writing is an act of love. And I want to start with a piece of writing, I think one of the first pieces of writing done here at Fishtrap by someone who's not part of Fishtrap, a child who's here with her family, who started with this and created this. This is the magic we live by. So the story is, one of the writers in Perrin's year-long workshop, Tammy, was in her yurt, and the door opened, and there was a young girl, thinking it was where she was staying. And she was very flustered, and she said, "I'm sorry," and she left. But later she left this note for Tammy. "Hi, I accidentally opened your cabin door earlier today because I thought it was my cabin. But then I remembered that writers were here and realized you might be one. My lifelong dream is to become a writer. Writing opens me to a new world full of hopes and dreams. But are you a writer? It's okay if you aren't. I love writing. A cabin kid." So that's the best thing I have to read. But I want to go on to tell a story that I heard at Fishtrap, and I'm bringing it back. This was years ago when Gary Ferguson was here. And he told this story that it's one of the stories that I think we ought to keep remembering. The story is that back over 100 years ago, when the anthropologists realized Indian languages were being lost, and they sent out their ethnographers to the different tribes to record the vocabularies, the grammatical methods, the stories. And so one of these gentlemen came to the Pitt River people. How many people remember this story? Remember Gary telling this story? The Pitt River people, and he sat with the elders for many weeks, writing down what is cedar, what is pine, what is sister, what is brother, what is sorrow, what is joy, what is song, what is river, this endless vocabulary. And finally, the ethnographer thought, well, I think I've got it now. Oh, wait, there's one more thing. He said to the elders, "What do you call people like me?" White people. The elders were very embarrassed. They all looked down. They couldn't make eye contact. Finally, one of them said a very long word. "What does that mean?" "Those who do not stop to make relation." Those who do not stop to make relation. So those who don't know how to love where they live, don't know how to love creatures, rivers, people, finally, maybe themselves. And, this took me to something Barry Lopez said one time. All writing is about relation. It's all about who you are to where you are, who you are to who you used to be, who you are to who I am, who you are to who you must become. It's about relation. It's about love. It's about connection. And the more I told Mike when I first heard the theme was love, I thought, well, what a sappy word that has become. And then I thought, the more I thought about it, the more the theme is everything. You know, I thought John Muir said, if you look closely at one thing, you soon realize it's connected to everything else. And love, relation, affection, connection, community, this is our whole subject as writers. So I want to do a series of poems about different expressions of love. And I'll get to love poems for Perrin, of which I have many. But first, several poems from my new book, As the Sky Begins to Change. And the idea of the book is the sky begins to change with climate change. We're burning the sky. We're digging oil out of the earth and burning the sky. But it also begins to change every morning at first light, when I go up the canyon and sit on a crag and watch the first gold touch the peaks. That's how the sky begins to change. That's how we begin to change. We get to have a new beginning each day. So in honor of that, I'll read the first poem in the book. It's called For the Birds Singing Before Dawn. Because in the morning I go out to my writing shed, it's dark, I'm working away there, and I heard this bird beginning to sing, and I thought, what are you doing? It's still night. Why are you singing? And then I realized, for the bird singing before dawn. So this is my love poem to this little bird. Some people presume to be hopeful with no evidence for hope, to be happy when there is no cause. Let me say now, I'm with them. In deep darkness on a cold twig in a dangerous world, one first little fluff utters a peep, a warble, a song, and in a little while, behold, first glimmer shows, then a glow filters through misty trees, then the bold sun rises, then everyone starts bustling about. And that first crazy optimist, can we forgive her for thinking dawn by dawn, hey, I made that happen. And oh, life is so fine. So for that little bird, well, a few more love poems from this book. One for my English teacher. You know, when you're a writer, eventually people say, how did you start writing? Was it your father? No. It was Scholastica, my 11th grade English teacher. This is called, her name was Scholastica, but she went by Scully. In green taffeta, our teacher stood petite on her toes in a trance, eyes blazing, spittle trembling at her lips, reciting Whitman's spells and psalms, Emily's enigmas, hewn meditations of Thoreau, as she gazed long and steady, each of us caught in her searchlight of love. Then she whispered, take out your journal and write of fire in your soul that both hurts and feeds you honey. Thus, she buried me in rapture, alone with my flames, scribbling in fury my thorns, my wilderness of fear and desire. Now, 50 years beyond her whispered sermons to my heart, that tattered notebook wears a halo, an aura no one else can see. My secrets scrawled, heaped, spilled forth ragged in code. And in the margin, as a bird might write with a tiny red pen, her words. Some would divide life into youth and adulthood. Do not divide yourself. You will still be who you are 50 years hence. Don't ever let yourself be lost. She was a saint. Okay, this next one is a love song for someone I will never meet, but I feel kinship with. You know, when I was in college, Charles Simic, the poet Charles Simic came through and he wrote, I bought his book, and he wrote on the front cover, the dream of every honest cliche is to enter a great poem. And so, you know, in my little notebook, I write down cliches. I think about that. What does that mean? And one day I wrote down, this conversation may be recorded for quality assurance. And I started thinking about that. who's going to listen to it? And the more I thought about it, the more I was honored. This conversation may be recorded for quality assurance. I'm glad somebody cares. When I call customer service to ask about my last billing cycle and get a woman in India with a lovely accent, her voice freighted by satellite to sort my payment. How can I help you? And after we delve into enigma, beyond our conversation, somewhere later, far away, someone else prepares to listen for quality assurance. Maybe it's a mother in North Carolina trying to make ends meet, or an immigrant in Chicago moonlighting to send money home. Think of it. We send our voices to mingle out there beyond this great emptiness, speaking our oldest human contact. Can I help? And then, alert to the timbre of a human voice, someone attends to how certain syllables may assure the quality of our essential bond. Okay, we're in horse country. I was just down visiting Ken Hunt, and we talked about horses a lot this morning down in Naha. And this took me to this poem. We were in Iceland, and we were walking in a field, and a herd of about 20 horses just got all excited. They had to come and see us, and they had to surround us, and they had to shower us with love. There's no other way to say it. They just had to, touch us and be touched. And so this is called Horses of Iceland. Maybe you know Icelandic horses, they have two gaits that no other horses have. They're able to cross rough ground in a certain way. And if an Icelandic horse leaves Iceland, they can never return. It's a breed that's kept very, very pure. So this is Horses of Iceland, Íslenski hesturinn. Deep in the dark age when Vikings chose which breed to board their ship for Iceland, none but tough would do. No more than 14 hands in height, sure-footed for broken ground, born with a gait for every obstacle, an easy keeper, sturdy in winter, yet warm, kind, holding kinship with human touch, a horse to stand on deck fearless as waves heave and wind shrieks, bold in storm, yet ready from myth and saga to step down the slope to meet us yesterday, curious to nibble our sleeves, this herd of 20 crowding closer all around us, noses needing rub and scratch, chins lifted for any touch we might return by the old covenant between their kind and some Viking in us yet, asking with their eyes and turn of head, we are with you wherever you may venture. We were so honored by those horses. Okay, maybe two more poems from this book, and then I'll get to the real love poems. One kind of love poem is a protest poem that you have to write because you love what your country could be. You love what we could be. I think of back in '78 when I was at Wallowa schools for 3 months. And one day the high school students wrote a poem. It was a blessing poem. So every line was supposed to start with, may this happen, let this happen, may this happen. And one of the lines, it's just tattooed on my memory. Let it be the way it should be, not the way it will be. These young people were looking at what we were doing to the world. Let it be the way it should be, not the way it will be. So this is called So Still. They took Eric for a cigarette. They took George for a $20 bill. Brianna is gone because they didn't like her door. Who will be the next to lie so still? They took Ahmed for running. They took Laquan because he walked away. They took Trayvon because he was looking round. Wrong place, wrong time is all they say. They took Emmett for a whistle. They took Medgar for a word. They took Martin because they didn't like his dream. Again, they said that it's time that dream's deferred. So still, so still. Did they kill you for a thrill? So still in your casket, so silent and so chill. They took away your laughter, let us keep our tears. They took you in your troubles, in your tender years. They took you for your color. That's how it appears. And when will we decide true justice to fulfill before we let another lie so still? All kinds of love poems. Well, someone came up to me and after a reading and said, "Thank you for saying their names." Sometimes that's all a writer has to do, say their names. Well, in our house, from Command Central downtown, the crows come at dawn. And you can see them radiating out across the suburbia. And these crows, they come in this dead birch tree near our house, and they just have a lot to say. And I started wondering, like there's this pair, they're obviously a pair. There's a big kind of arrogant male, and then there's a very wise female who calls the shots. I mean, once you watch them for a while, you can kind of tell what's going on. But I started wondering, how does the crow know her mate or his mate? How do they distinguish each other? So this is called How the Crow Knows Her Love. He has a certain swagger in the way he dips his beak, a syncopated strutting when he gives a tender shriek. I meet him in the shadows to tickle at his chin, to preen his glossy feathers till he shivers deep within. For I know behind his swagger he's a blooming fool for love. I can make him coo with pleasure as if he were a dove. I can make his vision blur, his eyes roll back and blink and remind us of this later when I give a fetching wink. He makes me swoon with wonder when he flaps across the sun to bring me fragrant morsels, and I know that he's the one to raise our crowlets, teach them verve and zest so they can swagger like him by the time they leave the nest. Oh, I can pick him from the flock, be they thousands in the trees. He makes my heart beat faster and go weak in wings and knees. When he glances past his shoulder to give that sassy look, I know I've got his number. I can read him like a rook. But how these humans find each other is an ancient mystery. For swarming in their flocks, they're all lookalikes to me. No inky feet and feathers and rainbow hue to spy the one who has that swagger that can always catch my eye. How they find their partners is a thing nobody knows. It's a pleasure that's so easy when you live among the crows. Okay, so I got into self-publishing these little books, and so I'd done 3 or 4 of them, and my beloved parent one day said, "Well, you got all those love poems for me, why don't you make a book of those?" Oh, this one will be easy, just open the drawer and pour them out. So this is called In Praise of Disarray, and there are 20 copies in the bookstore. Becky's got them. For the first 20 people who buy a book, you get one of these free. So I'm just going to read some poems from here. This I wrote a week or so after I met Perrin. She was with another. They were going to go on vacation. I was going to New Mexico to make an audiobook. I didn't know if we had a future. I didn't know if I'd see her again. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I wrote this poem, In Hope. It's called For One Far Away. 2 weeks ago, I didn't know your name. Now I want to give you everything. I can't tell my father about you. I can't tell my brother about you. All I can do is show you the crimson paintbrush in the mountains. I lived a long time without knowing you, but every evening the western sky filled with color. My parents gave me what they could. I can't give back their gifts. Open your hands. Before going away, you said, my precious. For a week of wakeful nights, I fed on that delicious crumb. Before we met, I was a river without a path. If your love follows another, I will travel wide and thin. I cut open a pear for us. 3 days later, it was untouched. While you were gone, I had to stare every night at the moon. You have a way of looking and not looking away. What is portable far from home? I hear the geese calling, calling. Be with me everywhere. So, when you have love in your life, it sort of gets into everything you see. And I was driving to a meeting with the dean. I'd been at a meeting downtown. I was driving to a meeting with the dean. I looked up through the windshield, and there were these 2 balloons sort of dancing upward toward heaven. And, of course, I thought of Perrin. So this is called Anonymous Valentine. Driving from the meeting of the Metro Council to my meeting with the dean, just beyond the 7th stoplight, I saw sailing high above the Chevron station and the Hare Architects a pair of heart-shaped balloons linked by a blue ribbon, drifting west in pirouette, tender as a courting dance of spirit birds, hesitant or bold by turns, askance, tipping, rising, nudge, pivot, giddy, hilarious, as I have never seen my dean or the bluster of the council. You and me, let loose, bound to be distant someday, but in this easy, endless moment, rising, dancing, getting away. Okay, so, again, this is a poem. It's about a magnet, but it's for my beloved. I mean, sir, I think I've told some of you that when I became Poet Laureate, the last reading that my predecessor gave, Elizabeth Woody, she said this little idea that just became huge in my life. And I think it's really in the spirit of Fishtrap. She said, the more I do poetry, the less it's about what the poem is and more who the poem serves. So, writing is directional. It's not an artifact. It's not a jewel. It's not a work of art. It's a transect. It's a covenant with someone. So this is called intrinsic. Does a magnet grow weary of yearning? Mist, distance? Spare me the details, my beloved. And then I love reading this one. It's called My Wife Wakes Me at 3 a.m. to Tell Me She is Overwhelmed. If you've been in this situation, there's this whisper, are you awake? Not for joy did we marry, but for this, to hammer through the to-do list in the dark, despair shared, one to lament, one to listen, knowing nothing can be done before dawn, but still the quiet aria comes, fierce prosecution of the self, as I say, what can be done will be done in time, and soon the tide will turn, days will bloom and fade, impossible imperatives will shrink to their true size for her, but rise to a tidal wave for me, and in the night cast down, I will be the one lamenting to my bride at the dark heart of my defeat, and she will tell me all is well in this dance we do for one another. Okay. So, I got halfway through this book, and I thought, well, how about a love poem for my daughter? How about a love poem for my sister, for my teachers? And so I'll just read a few of those. This one, you know, I'm thinking of this because I have two students, maybe more than two, but two in our workshop who witnessed about, I'm here because I have young children and I want to write. And we talked about how in a flash, you know, those little ones will be grown and gone. So, you know, cherish this. But one thing we did, my first wife and I, when our daughter was young, we'd write down things she said. And so this poem is just all from her, you know, all from writing down. It's called Our Daughter Tells It Like It Is. I love the way you can impossible make things up on the piano. I love the way your hair turns into your eyes in the blooming of the sun. Let's have a race. See who comes in first, me or the invisible person. I won! The skunks blow their horns and make suddenly smoke. In your eye, the pupil of love enjoys the beautiful scene. Papa, we have a cuckoo clock instead of a television, right? Me and Lisa are just sitting here watching the Beatles go round and round. You know what happened to my mom, Papa? They died in the milk pond, standing on their heads forever. Can we just go fishing this time all our life? Okay, just a couple more. Okay, this is for my students who have young children. It's called Transformation Before Our Very Eyes. We thought this was a little shoe, thumb size, worn before he could walk, kicked high in joy and fury. But now I see it is but a thimble for our old affections. We thought this was a car for errands at store, bank, and to convey us to see the relatives, to wander distant wonders. But now it carries our boy away. We thought this was money for food and shelter. We counted, hoarded, squandered, taxed, and spent. Now it's called college, and our wealth departs. Things and money were code for time, jargon for tiny joys the years now magnify. It wasn't a shoe, a car. She has this ebullience, and so it's called My Sister in a Room. And I just want to say, you know, when I was Poet Laureate, my standard optional homework for a moment like this would be think of someone in your life who needs a poem, and then make a poem for that person, and give that person a poem. Or think of a place that needs a poem. Think of a cause that needs a poem. Think of an organization that needs a poem, and make a poem and give it to that. So this is for my sister in a room. It's like someone left a window open and a bird got in, doing something to the light, brightening even shadows so they shine, reducing gravity, flickering so every surface comes alive, as if each object begins to bloom, to open, to release a long-held fragrance, as if our troubles crawled back into their cave and joys reclaimed their sovereignty. Sister, how you do it, no one knows, but everyone feels it, tries to use your light to pry open their own hesitation, reticence, reserve. Why not smile? Why not ask, brim, and fly? Okay, so a blessing for my teachers and then a blessing for my students. I just thought, you know, there's a story a student told me. She was probably in her 30s, and she said she took a class from her Latin teacher who mostly taught ethics. You know, he taught declension and all, but he taught ethics. And one of his assignments was write a letter of gratitude to someone who has helped you, and then go find that person and read them the letter. So she went back to her third grade teacher, and it turned out it was the last year of this teacher's career, and she read this letter to her teacher, and her teacher wept, and she said, "No one has ever thanked me." So the bar is low. You know, make the gesture. So this is a blessing for teachers, my people, my heroes, my friends, and this is for my fellow faculty. You are a teacher because helplessly you love the invisible future thinly disguised as a child who does not yet know her power, his gift. And it is up to you to create conditions where these wonders may be revealed. So alchemy in a crowded room, transmuting the lead of device-medicated torpor to the gold of fevered engagement with the self, each other, and the earth. This is the mission you have chosen to accept. A teacher, you befriend the invisible future by looking into the eyes of beginners, and there find the glimmer, the shimmer, the glance outward from reticence to a few words, from a few words to a story bristling with thought. Knowledge is a fossil we turn over in our hands, but learning is the living water for the young we ladle out by looking into the eyes of children, entrusted to us by the hard world. So, teachers. Okay, so this last one, I think I wrote at Fishtrap. I probably read here, but I'm going to read it again. It's called Secrets and Vows, and it's about, you know, what I experienced in that tent, a kind of a covenant we arrived at, that we are going to be brave with each other and trusting with each other. And this is our opportunity to give to people we haven't met before the best we have, and then to carry home from each other the best we might do. So this is called Secrets and Vows. Long after being a beginner in teaching, I still grow anxious starting a class. I want everyone to fall into a kind of love with their own voices, their stories, their indelible, mysterious memories, and arresting sorrows, to cherish every shock and sensation in the telling. I've come to love the way after a young text is read aloud, we all take a bright breath of reverie as the story we heard and the story we have lived greet one another, exchange gifts, and part with reluctance. I don't know how I would live without this intimacy writers share in the making time, telling secrets and making vows with one another.
All right, thank you, Kim. The tone is set for the week. I hope you all enjoy this first night and are feeling comfortable and welcomed, and now we begin this journey. For those